We kind of make a have a lighthearted approach to the news of the day. This is not a specifically lighthearted story, but it is important for people to talk about. So we're going to talk about it at the beginning. A off-duty CBP officer was shot by an illegal immigrant in a robbery attempt in New York City. I'm sure all of us are aware of that as of right now. I'm pretty sure everybody's been talking about it, considering the horrendous problem that you get when you release criminals back into society to let them do it again. Grace, in my opinion and in my view of it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, the fact that the guy was a CBP officer, which is fantastic. Thank you for the wonderful work that he does, but it's kind of like not really, in my view, a big part of the story. Just kind of, it was a coincidence. My big thing was this guy was arrested over and over again. There's an outstanding warrant for him in Massachusetts. He was set to be deported when he was arrested in Arizona, and for some reason is still freaking out on the streets. The idea that the guy is the victim there was a CBP officer is kind of just a coincidence, but the big problem is, why the heck are we letting these people out on the streets after they commit crimes?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously that got it into the news cycle more because he wasn't even in uniform at the time. But the
Yeah.
most insane part of this story is the fact that we still can't find a Democrat to have the courage to admit the harm that the Biden administration's policies had and are still having on innocent Americans across our country. The amount of crimes committed by illegal aliens, other than just crossing the border, is monumental, and there's overwhelming evidence that there's extreme harm from the open border policies that the Biden admin had for years. It's insane.
Yeah, Siaka, I'm curious about your thoughts here, because both of us probably tied very closely to legal immigrants. Libs like to throw around the statistic, well, immigrants commit less crimes than American citizens, and they conflate the legal ones with the illegal ones. If you're here legally and you went through the process, which is complicated and difficult, the chances of you committing a crime and ruining or jeopardizing your ability to be here is actually pretty low. So there is a point there, but again, that's the legal way. When you combine the illegals in that whole statistic doesn't make any sense because it's top heavy on the people that are here legally. I hate to beat a dead horse here, but we've been talking about the fact that they conflate illegal with legal through the entirety of all their statistics. What has to happen? Is this story big enough, do you think, to drive the point home of, like, we're talking about illegals, we need to get the illegals out of the country?
We're talking about like it's crazy because, like, yeah, this is a P officer, but the issue is that if it was just you, me, or any random person on the street, would this even get the kind of notoriety that it should, right? And then let's go even going further back. This is just a story that's up now because of the immigration push or the deportation push the Trump administration is trying to do. This is not in there because 3, 4, 5 years ago we could barely get out Lincoln Riley. We could barely get that to hit a national story unless you're on the right side of the news. You weren't really seeing that anywhere else. So, like I said before, guys, and we're saying this kind of jokingly, but this is dead serious. Get out of the Democratic Party. Protect yourself in these Democratic cities because they do not care about you. They rather see you dead. You're more of a liability to them than these illegals who, guess what? When you come in here illegally, you've committed crimes. So 100% of them have committed more crimes than Americans. So.
Yeah, it's, and again, I don't want to make light about the situation, but I was shocked that the shooting happened in New York City. I thought that guns were illegal. I apparently that law just didn't work for some reason or another.
No one told him it was a gun-free zone, I guess.
That's what it was. There was no sign that said it was a gun-free zone. That's and again, I don't want to make light about a very serious situation, but the idiocy is sometimes difficult to pass over with mockery. Speaking of mockery, Grace, I thought this was interesting. In Sacramento, there was the sanctuary city inside of the sanctuary state. ICE went up to a Home Depot and arrested 11 illegals that were outside the Home Depot in the parking lot there. Now, a bunch of people from Sacramento just lost their mind. And then Bill Malutian of Fox News highlighted some of the very bad things that those people do. Of the 11 people that were arrested, 5 of them had extensive criminal records, including fentanyl trafficking, sex offenders, and a bunch of laundry list of crimes. And he makes the case here. This was just a random. It wasn't really like a plan. We just randomly picked up a bunch of people, and turns out, oh look, over half of them had a criminal record. But I think this is the funniest thing. We've got a video clip here, what I'd love your response to. Now libs are trying to boycott that Home Depot because it's their fault, I guess. Like, I don't know. You can't stop ICE from entering a parking lot. There's no anyways, watch this. We'll play it very briefly, and I would love your response.
Boycott! 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 Boycott!
That's enough. That's enough of that. Yeah, you get the gist of it. What did Home Depot do, Grace?
Exactly. Leave it to California residents to boycott a business simply for following the law. And listen, if they're rushing to boycott deportations like this, the law, then we shouldn't hear them complain about a single bad thing happening in California, economic or otherwise, because they're obviously very supportive then, if they're rushing to boycott this, of the fact that their government spends up to $30 billion a year of their taxpayer money on illegal aliens. It's absolutely insane. And, I think Home Depot is going to be just fine following this. It's completely insane, but of course you can't escape the leftist mob that already isn't following logic there.
Yeah, Siaka, so this is like in the parking lot. Like, if you're going to blame Home Depot, for what? Having a parking lot? Are they going to boycott asphalt next? Like, I don't know what's the next logical step here for these folks.
Do not give them any ideas, Jobob. I think they are gone crazy on their own. You don't need to add anything else into it. But yeah, this is California. You're still there. I was able to get out, but they are doubling and tripling down on this insanity, my man. It's so crazy to watch them. And we just talked about it in the last segment, but these guys are criminals. There are criminals that they're catching right now, and they're boycotting it. And it goes back to the whole point of, I always like to say it's a death cult, because on this day where they've actually arrested illegal criminals, people who aren't even citizens, one thing if they're citizens, you could have been hanging out with your family. You could have been, I don't know, hanging out with some friends in some nice places, having a picnic, doing something beautiful in the beautiful state of California. Instead, you're boycotting a business that just happens to have a parking lot that people who are illegally here, who committed crimes, whether here or other countries, that's when they got picked up. So, hey, the parking lot of the place. Let's go get them, guys. You're really doing God's work there in Home Depot parking lot.
You're echoing a point that I make so often. If some sort of quantum physics person can allow me to purchase the time that some people are wasting by protesting a building, I would love to have that happen.
Bro, I just had a little girl. Trust me, we have 2 kids under 2. That would be the best invention ever.
Yes, that would be fantastic, especially because they're wasting the time that I could use very wisely. The Chicago Tribune had a headline that basically said this: in Illinois, adult immigrants, now illegals, they're not talking about legal immigrants, but this is the language that they use, ages 42 to 64 without legal status, there it is, have lost their health care to save an estimated $404 million. Illinois has to balance its budget and therefore kicked a bunch of illegals off of government health care. Now, the kind of hilarious irony to that is, I want you to watch this video of Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, who is a big player on the lib side of the aisle, saying something that kind of contradicts something that the Chicago Tribune just said. Watch this.
And under current law, undocumented immigrants are already ineligible for Medicaid, the ACA exchanges, and for SNAP benefits. Not a single undocumented immigrant in this country gets a dime in federal taxpayer dollars for any part of comprehensive Medicaid coverage. Not one.
So no illegals get any sort of federal government money help for their health care, except for when Illinois cuts it. It's just a total travesty. I thought it wasn't happening. How does that work?
Yeah, leave it to the Democrats to explain to the American people that they actually do understand the laws. They're just choosing to break them. So it was great to see him finally admit this, because yes, of course, the point here is that we're saving over $400 million on what? Nothing, apparently. And on top of this, about a month before, there was a story saying that Democrats are upset that ICE has gained access to data that would Medicaid data that would apparently expose illegal aliens. Now, explain to us, if there are no illegal aliens benefiting from Medicaid, how exactly is ICE gaining Medicaid data access a problem? We don't know, but of course the answer is they can completely continue to just expose themselves and their disdain for our rule of law, their disrespect for the American people, and their willingness to just break it very obviously and just say, oh, you know, just deny it, basically, when obviously they're continuing to break it right in the faces of the American people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Siaka, I don't want to get in the way of the bit that you're about to pull off, so go ahead.
I was trying to do the math that Grace brought up, and I'm not getting any real answer here.
Math is hard.
Yes, there
For
it
the
is. There it
Democrats,
is.
it really is.
Math is hard, and apparently for their math right now, Ted, this must be the Common Core stuff they were teaching after I got out of school. Because I don't know it, but you know, these guys, it is again, like I said, it's so hard not to laugh at Timu Obama trying to lie to the level of our for the many of the left's Lord and Savior Barack Hussein Obama, but him. Governor Pritzker, who came at Congress and was being, it was sitting down, he had to sit there and testify. He said, we're not doing this at all. And then you have Brandon Johnson, the worst rated mayor in any major city in America right now, getting close to single digits in approval rating, also said, we are not doing this, but yet we are still a sanctuary city. So somebody has to be held accountable for some lies. And I know Hakeem is just kind of playing the part, but I say let's go after Pritzker and Johnson over there. As a former Chicagoan myself, let's go and look at those books and hold some people accountable. Yeah.
I wonder if there would be any movement if we told JB Pritzker that, hey, all the illegals will get out of the buffet line and leave you to the front of it. That might change his tune a little bit.
That'd be it.
The idea that it's not happening, but it's a travesty if you make it illegal. I've never understood that across so many different issues that libs continue to push.